All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending on where you're tuning in from around the world. I know we have people all over the place right now. You guys can go ahead and drop in the chat where you are tuning in from. I would love to see where we got viewers coming in from. But this is our next live session. It is Tuesday, February 24th. We're almost through February already, right? And we are from London. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And we're in great momentum this week, you guys. Our gold channel, if you guys have been watching our velocity chat, has been on fire. Thousands of pips caught already. Our trend wave chat is in profit on all positions. It's been a phenomenal week, you guys. But with that being said, let's go ahead and kickstart this day. The first thing that I like to do when I get on the charts is I want to go ahead and get a view for what kind of news do we have ahead, right? Is there any news that can, throw me off or any news that can blindside me or anything that I need to be aware of? We do have some consumer confidence news. It is an orange folder in the next 35 minutes here. So we'll be on session for that, right? Consumer confidence is going to, this is going to impact the market. Actual greater than forecast is going to be good for the currency. So if this comes up, and we might see a small reaction. It's not a red folder situation. It's just an orange folder for today. However, we're still going to keep an eye and see if there's any potential setups. We're also going to be very careful today with these USD pairs, just simply because we do have President Trump is going to be speaking tonight at 8 p.m. So the markets do have some potential to consolidate ahead of that conversation. We don't know how the markets will react to that news, right? So with that being said, no news tomorrow for the US dollar, and then on Thursday we have our unemployment claims. So as we review the market, we're going to want to look at where the market is currently at, right? During our New York session, although I will do a quick review of some of these JPY pairs simply because we have positions open for the JPYs, um, we're going to focus in on beautiful setup right here. That was fantastic. Fantastic. We are going to We're going to focus in on the US dollar pairs for the day today, you guys. We may do a little bit of a review on gold. We just got another sell signal on gold. And what we're looking at, obviously I am not a gold trader, so I'm not calling any trades. You guys can see how my process works with gold. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we just called another sell side position. I'm not going to focus on that for now. But with the USD pairs, so when I start analyzing the USD pairs, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the US dollar index, the DXY. The DXY is essentially going to be a basket of currencies. It's going to be all of the USD pairs, all of the majors. So the New Zealand dollar, the Great British dollar, the euro, the New Zealand dollar. It'll be all of these currency pairs weighted against the dollar, right? So that's the first thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and see what is the market currently telling me. Where am I currently in our current market, right? A few things that I might see. Number one, we have these large, and I'll clean up my charts as we go so it can be as clear for you as possible, right? But number one, we have this large imbalance here that I want to bring to your attention, right? This is a sell side position on the dollar that creates a large imbalanced area here. When I speak about an imbalanced area, essentially when it comes to trading in the market, there are buyers and there are sellers. The way that I view the market is that the market is essentially a mirror of itself, where there are buyers, 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 there will be sellers, sellers, sellers that will come into the market to equal out the buyers. This is called a balanced market, right? Again, we have buyers, buyers, buyers. We have our sellers that come into the market to balance out the market. It does the same thing here again, every single time. So the only times to where we would say that the market is imbalanced is when there are more sellers than there are buyers, right? Which is exactly what we see in this area here. So with that being our understanding, the first thing that we're going to be looking for is we are going to be looking for the market to balance itself out to trade back into structure, back around at this level here that we have marked up above. This is going to be the area where we are going to have a balanced market, right? At this point in time is when we will be looking for the next movements in the market, right? We're going to see once price trades to this level, we're going to be expecting that we either get a rejection from here and that the market will sell, right? Or that price is going to buy through this level. Once we retest, we'll be able to get our entries and we will be taking our buys from there. You know what I'm saying? Or staying in our buys from there. So that's how we're going to utilize the dollar index to help us to guide and to direct ourselves in the markets, right? With all that being said, I don't actually trade the dollar index. The next thing that I want to actually point out, because I just saw something else just as well, we have our low, right? And then we have a higher low. So we know that when we're looking to identify the trend of the market, we identify that by higher lows and then higher highs. We can also see that we have already created those higher lows, but we haven't yet created the higher highs. So that is what we are anticipating. We are expecting to see a higher high on this dollar index, right? But what does that mean for us? How do I make money trading um, the dollar index? We don't, but we're going to use it as an indicator, right? We may look at other USD pairs that could be like the USD CHF or USD CAD to see if there are any commonalities in that price action and price structure, right? We see that we have our low on USD CHF and our higher low, and we've come into an area to where there was previous consolidation and we have failed at this point to create a higher high, right? So we really want to see how is the market going to respond in the area that is trading from right now, right in here, right? What is going on right in this area here? How does the market respond? We can anticipate here that if the market is to continue, we were going to need to buy out of this structure, right? Maybe retest above these highs, or we're going to sell from here. We're going to retest below this low, and that we're going to continue in whichever direction is confirmed at that point, whether we are selling or whether we are buying from here. There is essentially an argument for both right now, right? When I say there's an argument for both, I identify some of these internal, well, this is actually already been swept. So I had this low here that has been swept. That gives us a better argument for the buy side position at this point in time. But we are getting some short-term rejections on these smaller time frames. So we want to be patient and see what the market is going to tell us as it opens in, well, it just opened right now. But as the market starts to clear out in the next 15, 12, 13 minutes here from here, is this a rejection from this? And I'm going to clear this out as well. And we are also going to clear this one out as well. Is this a rejection that we're seeing currently on the USD CHF, right? Are we seeing sells? We're currently trading below our equilibrium. I actually did not get like a sniper entry up here. We would have had to do that pre-market, which is not my ideal time to trade. But are we going to see some sells coming out of this structure? It's not going to be a position that I'm looking. It does kind of look clean. We are trading back within our previous market structure, and we can look to maybe see price trade into these lows here. But this is not a trade for me. If you see the risk to reward ratio is about a 1.4, which is not good enough, not for my strategy, not for my personal, you know, style of trading, right? However, we do see a potential for price to trade lower even from there, right? Let me clear this out, right? There is some potential to see price come to these lows, sweep this low, maybe trade into structure here, or maybe even trade back into the lows all the way down here. That would be closer to a 1 to 5. We would be risking very little, about 14 pips, and we are able to see a pretty significant upside from that alone. I'm not completely sold. We're going to go through the other pairs and make sure that there are no conflicts within the market. But that's the first opportunity that kind of stands out to me, right? I'm seeing that we have some lower highs here, right? And we have not created the lower lows. So that could be our target. We'll be more confident with this if the market is to trade below this level here, and maybe we get the retest within the next couple of minutes here. If this happens, we may be looking to take sells on this dollar USD CHF. Our trade would look probably more so like this. We might drag this out just a little bit, and then we may use this as our stop loss, right? This one at the worst case scenario, if that were to happen. So we're going to go ahead and watch that, but we'll review some of the other USD pairs just as well, see if we see some similarities. Um, USD CAD, I was able to enter some buys on this position. USD CAD, I'm very curious about it right now, just because of the fact that in the process of this market buying, we left several imbalanced areas here and here, right? Multiple different imbalances. We can expect to see price come back and trade into, maybe this previous structure at some point in time, come back and to take out these lows and take all these lows. Potentially, right? That's not really what I'm favorite, what I'm looking for. In reality, I think that I might be more so bullish on the dollar like I first expressed than anything else, right? Um, it's just that these pairs, USD CAD more so than USD CHF, USD CHF is giving me a little bit of a conflict, right? We do need to break above structure. I actually am not even going to wait on this. I'm going to just wait for price to trade out of the zone instead of creating a bias early on. We need the market to do one of these two things. If we're able to do one of these two things, then we are going to have a more clear direction, right? But we're going to be patient. In the meantime, right? We would be able to take this dollar to the buy side, and that would be in alignment with the dollar buys that we have already. In reference to our other pairs, AUD, USD, this is actually looking very clean right now, right? You can see that we had previous sells from this previous structure. I'm going to start to creep this. Let me see if I could use something else. I'm going to delete that. And we are going to start to look at these lower levels, see where price is trading to. What I want to bring to your attention when it comes to this pair here is that this was our previous structure, right? This is an area that we sold from before, and we have now taken that and we started to use what was our support. This was or excuse me, it was a resistance that we sold from, and we ended up using this level as our support here and here and here and here. Every time we touched this current level, the market reacted in some way, right? This last reaction was lower, it was a lower low, and we immediately spiked all the way back to mitigate this imbalance here. This is what we might call like a complex pullback, right? Because it does create a higher high that we would say, you know what, this is actually higher than previous highs, which can indicate a, reversal or indicate that markets are going to buy. The only thing that tells us that it's not going to be a higher high or an uptrend or trend reversal, in my perspective, is the fact that we did sweep all of these internal highs, but when it came to testing this external structure here, we were rejected immediately and we were sent back into our previous market structure. So all we want to see at this point when it comes to the Australian dollar is we want to see exactly how the market moves within this range right here, right? How does the market move here? Right? What is it going to do? Some people might make the argument that this market is actually creating a higher low currently, that this is our current lower, or excuse me, this is our current low, and that this market is now beginning to make a higher low, right? And that they would say that this is an order block and that we are looking to secure our positions from right here, with our stop loss right below the lows of this market. And we would be looking to trade back above the highs if this was validated, right? I can see it happening. We're at the bottom of this range. So even if we were trading in a consolidating range and we were selling from the highs and buying from the bottoms, selling from the high and buying from the bottom, selling from the highs, we would now again be buying from the bottom. And just trading back to the highs represents about a 55 pip return for us. This is actually looking pretty clean. This is actually looking more clean than some of the other pairs, not as big of a conflict. I can certainly see this being something that takes place. But before we jump the gun, let's see if there's the same response from other USD pairs, right? Because these other USD pairs, especially when it comes to the New Zealand dollar, versus the Australian dollar, these other USD pairs are going to respond in similar fashion as the as the Australian dollar. We would probably be looking to buy within this zone right here, right? With our stop losses below the low, right? Our entry would be something like right here, and we would be looking at a very low risk to reward trade setup, trading back to structure, right? You can see I kind of already predicted that. So it's interesting that the Australian dollar is starting to show similar signs, right? I think that if there is a trade that I like, that I see, that I think would be worth taking a trade on, it's currently looking like the Australian dollar, but we are going to be patient and we're going to wait for more confirmation, right? Is going to be how the market closes in the next 4 minutes on this 15-minute candle, as well as how the market closes at the end of the 4-hour candle. This bullish engulfing candle that we're seeing, like I said, we got 3 minutes to close out. This is showing us that this market is likely to be ready, right? We're still not seeing any reaction on the dollar, but the Australian dollar is giving us some pretty clear bullish signs trading off of this block right here. This is looking like we might have a potential for a sniper entry here. I'm going to be patient though. We're going to follow our rules. There's no loss. There's always another opportunity. If anything, this becomes a learning lesson, even if we miss the trade. So there's no point in rushing, right? I want to go ahead and analyze this and continue to analyze this on smaller time frames, right? See what's actually taking place. As I dial it down to maybe even the 5 minute or the 15-minute time frame, we can see that we're about 7, 8 pips up from where we expected this market to buy from. What am I looking at currently, right? This is going to be our current high, right? This is our current high that we are looking at. In order for me to say I'm confident with this being a buy side move, we need to see how the market reacts to this level right here. If we create a high above this high within the next 3 minutes, right? We need to do this to close out this 15-minute candle. If we do that, I'm going to be more confident that we're looking for a buy side move overall, right? So essentially, the ways that that could look, this could look like a one big bullish engulfing candle that takes us up here, right? And then starts to weaken. Maybe this 15-minute candle closes higher and the next 15-minute candle immediately pulls back into structure. I'm going to be looking for the market to stay above these lows that we're trading at right now. So we see we get a touch here and the market responds. We get a touch here and the market responds. That's essentially the reaction that we're looking for. We want to touch this level again, and we want to see how the market responds to that. So, two things that I'm looking for: a buy above this level, right, to create the higher high for us. And then we're going to look for the pullback into our previous market structure. And we will be looking to enter our trade right about here. We might even be able to tighten the stop loss based on that, right? And now we have I'll give it 20 pips. I like very tight stop losses, right? But this is looking good so far. You can see we have 60 seconds left, literally, and you can see how the market is starting to try to validate our belief, right? We have our belief. That's why we spend the first few minutes just looking through it and seeing what could the possibilities be. Here's the thing, though. Now we have GBP USD that is also not moving. It's selling just as well. So with that being said, I'm very cautious of this Australian dollar. I'm not looking to like jump in. Now we have our New Zealand dollar that's turning around as well. Okay, cool. Things are starting to come into, they're starting to come into alignment. So we have two of these USD pairs are trading in the same direction as we expected. Now the USD CHF or USD CAD is still bullish. USD CHF is still bullish. The dollar index is still bullish. That makes me want to go back to our news and see if there's any Australian dollar specific news for today that is going to be directing us, right? We have Australian dollar news today at 6:30. So now it makes sense why the Australian dollar is the one that's moving and it's not necessarily the US dollar, right? It's not the US dollar that's driving this behavior because the US dollar is not moving, right? However, the Australian dollar is starting to move. So I want to look around and see if there are any upside or buy side targets that I can expect for the market to trade to. Um, Maybe it's possible that we trade back to this level here, right? And then from here is where we get our bigger rejections because I do anticipate some bigger rejections. My overall bias is that the dollar remains bullish, um, or shows some bullishness because it hasn't been bullish for forever, you know what I'm saying, or for even a long time. And that we get a reaction here, right? We want to make sure that we stay below this guy, but there is a potential that we get one more pullback into our structure so that we get a full candle closure, full body candle closure back into this structure here, right? That represents about a 1 to 4, making it a favorable trade. It is a pretty good trade if everything else works out according to our plan, right? So now as we dial it back, we did get that bullish engulfing candle on the 15-minute time frame. We did not, however, create a higher high. It doesn't have to do it in one candle. It can do it in 3 candles. It can do it in a few candles. But just because it is showing that, I'm not going to rush my position. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to rush. I'm taking my time. We can see the euro is starting to turn, GBP is starting to turn, and NZD is starting to turn. We now have a clearer direction across the overall market. We see that the dollar is starting to weaken, the dollar is starting to weaken, and the dollar is starting to weaken. We now have our better, a more clear confirmation, right? We still, however, have not created a high above this high. You know what I'm saying? Remember, we called this one all the way down here, so we're about 10 pips into profit already. The only thing about that is that we're still waiting for our final confirmations to validate our direction. This is the patience that it requires to trade successfully. We can't be pressed or pressured by the movements that we're seeing in the market at this point in time, right? Let me go ahead and what am I going to do? So I have this box here simply to show you the lows, the highs. I don't want it anymore. I want to see some clear charts, clear price action, right? So let's go ahead and see if we can clean this up a little bit further. I'm going to clean this up also because we've got this blue line here. This is going to be our new low. I'm going to turn that green because it'll be our floors, right? This is going to be our floors, right? I could have just entered the trade. It would have been a little bit of it would have been one of the sniper entries. I would have been able to brag about it. Another sniper entry. However, we didn't have our full clear confirmation, right? We're testing that high right now. So that's what we're doing right now. So all we need to see, you can see that the market is kind of hesitating a little bit. It's touching, but we want to get some clear we want to get some force to push through this level right here. And if we are able to see that, then we can make the next move. I'm going to take a look over at NAS just very quickly, just because I believe Nas has some upside for me, which is also in alignment with our NZD buys at this level. It's also in alignment with our AUD buys at this level. So we have structure, structure. We get buys from here. And then now, so we're seeing the picture. Let me know if any of those things, and it's obviously it's we don't have a large group. So if there's any questions that you have personally, that you would like answered or anything that you would like for me to look at, let me know. We can see that the UK 100 is also very, very bullish. US 30 is also showing bullishness. So all indices from the UK to the US are all showing bullish reactions right now. This is a very good sign. We have equal highs here and an imbalance here, right? We have equal highs here, relatively equal highs here, and an imbalance here just as well. We can anticipate that this NAS will trade to the buy side. AUD USD, let's keep focused. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving it some time. I am watching it over on the side. You see, I got the list here. So as it's moving and I look at something else, I'm not losing it. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to make sure that I'm not missing out on any other opportunities. But we do have our Australian dollar here. This to me is now looking more and more and more and more and more clear. I'm kind of starting to think that I am getting ready to enter this trade here. Um, just because the risk to reward would still be good. 22 pips. It hasn't been fully confirmed yet. So part of me wants to still just be patient. But as I see these lower time frames, there's also a potential that we do not come back, right? There's a potential that we creep above here and that we don't come back. I like to use some of our moving averages and EMAs, and you can start to see how they start to curve and they are actually guiding this market higher. If I put the 21 on, we'll probably see that we get a cross of the moving averages. Um, so these are all bullish signs for us. But what did we do? We're still being patient. We're still being patient because as you can see, we still have failed to create the high that we need to finally validate our trade. This is our final validation, right? Final validation. This is all I need. I don't need too much. That's all I need. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. This is all I need. This is starting to create that higher high, right? We're not just going to focus on where it touches, but we want to see where does the market close at. But we are now back within our structure, right? We're back within our previous market structure. And what I'm going to be doing is we'll be looking for our entry price. So start preparing yourself. We're going to be looking to enter the market right in this area, probably right here, right? So once we get our higher high, the next thing that see, look, we still haven't got it yet. It's still just very I don't know, man. It's just not being very decisive. But we do start to see our US dollar weakening. We do start to see USD CHF hasn't weakened so much, but our dollar index is starting to show some sell side. Our GBP is starting to show that buy side. NZD buy side is hitting. This one is up like 8 pips. Everything looks fantastic. This is next level discipline because everything is saying go, 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 go. We just want these last confirmations. And I know I'm just repeating myself at this point right now. I just want to harp on what is required for the longevity. I don't want to be tied to the money and anxious and feeling like, I have to do it now. I want to follow my rules. And my last rule, I need one more confirmation. I need a higher high that will show us the shift of direction, right? And then once that happens, because guess what? You know what could just happen just as well? What if we use this as the high and we simply reject right here? We close lower. We get wicks up here as we are currently seeing. You know what I'm saying? And then as we get those wicks, we get rejection candles. And this ends up being a false move. And this becomes our low and our lower low and our lower low. And what actually ends up happening is that we don't create the higher high and we actually start to reject from here. and this now becomes a sell side position. You know what I'm saying? It's not confirmed yet. I do like and I appreciate the market making me, look good, feel good, being like, yeah, you called it, and as you're calling it, we gonna do exactly what you're saying. I think that's good for the demonstration. But remember when we first started off, I actually had this Australian dollar pinned as a sell side move because it was one that I actually was already selling from Friday. I don't know if you saw, like Friday, I called some sells on the Australian dollar. They actually hit my stop loss. I was not successful with them, but my original bias was that, and I did a whole lot of movement in between A and B, but my original bias was that this Australian dollar, Lord, if we ever can get back there, we might never make it back to my original setup. I literally just undid like 20,000 clicks. All right, cool. We made it. Sheesh. 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 That's crazy. But our Australian dollar, we were originally looking at it as that sell, right? Trading back into structure. We have our test of the highs. We do have a full body candle closure on the 1 hour. So even though I was looking for that full, candle closure on the daily or the 4 hour, it may not be necessary. You know what I'm saying? Because we already had it on the 1 hour. Now my ranges are starting to tighten. My ranges are starting to tighten, right? These are the areas that I'm looking at now. I want to see how the market responds to just this area here, right? Do we break below, right? You see, the market just fell. I think that that is the most beautiful example. I love that this happened today, right? Just like that, because you could see what I wanted. I know what I want for the market to do. But imagine if I entered early, we would be down almost 10 pips already. But now we start to see everything is turning. Everything is turning. Everything is turning. It was a fake, except for USDCHF. Very weird. And the dollar basket. Mixed signals. I don't like mixed signals. I like when everything is in confluent and everything is moving in alignment, but we're not seeing that right now. You feel me? So we're gonna just wait. This is the times to be patient, yo. It's the times to not rush. We saw both sides of it. There was a beautiful argument for how this could possibly be a buy side move, and there's an argument for how it could be a sell side move. That is, I don't want to say intentional, but I will say that the market hasn't yet given us its clear direction, right? We have USD news today that will be red folder news that will affect the market. We have orange folder news in 2 minutes. I'm just going to wait. It's okay. I'm just gonna wait for 2 minutes. I'm gonna see what this red folder, this orange folder news does. Hopefully it is it makes it more clear after 9 o'clock, right? However, I'm gonna go through and just look at my JPYs because I'm also being patient here as well, right? JPYs, we caught some GBP JPY trades. We hit take profit 3 today. Beautiful, no drawdown entry. If you'd like to, me to share with you how I caught this entry so that you could use it as maybe a learning lesson, you know what I'm saying? Since we're just being super patient right now. After then just drop it in the chat, say, yeah, walk me through what were you looking at? And I'll go through these. I'm not going to focus on the JPYs though, unless you want me to, because I have to be patient here just as well. I had my entry down here, and it didn't quite hit. So I was looking for the reversal, but I'm looking for a reversal from here, not from here. So I'm being patient in that regard just as well. Staying focused on the USD, not going to be too heavily distracted. We do see the US dollar, the DXY, is starting to show some bullishness here, more so than it was before. Same thing goes for USD CHF. And then USD CAD has never shown us the bearish signs that everything else was. Now we're getting rejections on the Australian dollar. That entire bearish or bullish engulfing candle that we were just looking at, that was just helping us to become confident because we still had questions. We weren't 100% confident yet, right? But that candle that was helping us to become confident has got completely, like, it's got cut in half basically. You know what I'm saying? It's traded back into structure for sure, for sure. And we actually have created a lower high here. We have not created that higher high that we were looking for. It's possible that it happens in the next 30 seconds, but we are going to watch for that, right? Hmm, very bullish. Hmm, slightly, and then questions. The market's pulling against each other. There's a lot going on right now. It's not clear. Not the best times to trade, in this space, right? Maybe you do find entries. Maybe you like NAS. Well, look, we were just looking at NAS buys. Oh, and it's already turned around. Okay, so we have our USD news. Again, it was yellow folders, orange folders, I should say, which are medium impact. They're not the highest impact news. So we can see a response, but we don't expect the market to move 1,000 pips. And it was good for the US dollar. Very similar to what we were already seeing. Good for the US dollar. So we're looking at the sells on the Australian dollar is what we're going to be doing. We don't have enough force to change our direction or our position, in my perspective. I don't have enough supporting evidence. Even the bullishness that we just saw on the Great British Pound, we have failed to create a higher high. This is a lower high here, right? So everything is pointing to our sell side positions. I'm going to go ahead and delete that since that first move has already been made. And then now the only thing that we are going to be looking for is we're going to be looking for price to trade out of this zone right here. And if we are able to trade below the low, we will expect for the dollar to continue to stay bullish. We'll expect for USD CHF to get bullish. We're going to delete all of these possibilities of the downsides. It's not going to be what we're focused on for now. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be looking at the opposite. I'm not selling the dollar today. I don't have any supporting evidence for that. I'm going to be looking for the opportunity to short these opposite pairs, right? A sell below the low and a retest here to take us lower. And if price does buy, I may miss the buy side move. I may miss it, and it's okay. It's okay. It's gonna be all right. Perfect timing on that song. Yep. So this may be a love it. Perfect timing on that. This may be a day to where we don't trade the market open because you can see how things are shifting. Maybe this is our entry on our NZD on our NAS right now. I kind of do like this. Kind of like this more than anything, but we didn't get a full sweep of liquidity. I'm gonna be patient. We're gonna be coming back. I'm gonna be keeping my eyes on this market throughout the day today, throughout this market session. And what we're gonna do, since we didn't find our entry yet on the open, we can just sit around and watch it and watch it and watch it. Right? We're starting to get that sell side on even the Great British Pound. Everything is supporting the sell side. Everything is supporting the sell side. What I'm gonna do for myself at this point in time is I'm going to place an alert right here rather than sitting and just watching and watching and waiting. 7.0 to maybe 8. I'm going to hit this alert button. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Um, and we're going to say sell side confirmed. I'll try not to sing on these sessions. Sometimes I can't help myself. Sell side confirmed, right? A break below. Strong break below. Very good. Right. Very good. This looks like one of the best opportunities just because of how the market opened. Swung high, swung low, did not create a lower low, stay above the highs, and then we get a supporting buy from there. But with that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and it's a little bit of a shorter session today, but we just don't have any news to work off of. There's just really nothing there for us to make our decisions based off of. So rather than just sitting around, I will monitor this myself. We got buys on gold. Buys on gold is what we're just called. Sells on NZDJPY, trading back into our previous structure. Yeah, we're going to be monitoring today. And I'm going to be looking to maybe take potential trades within the next hour and a half, right? If I couldn't get my entry on the open, we're going to look closer to about 10:30, which is Central Time, which in London, that is going to be 4:30 UK time. About 4:30 UK time, I'll look to see if I can find some different opportunities and we'll continue from there. So you see, like, my whole thing is not forcing it, not putting us in any compromising positions, not taking losses that are unnecessary, and just sticking to our plan, right? Because right now we would have just been like kind of, market's going up and down, and it just is not doing what we want it to do. You can see nothing's really happening yet. So we'll be patient and we'll wait for it. So stay tuned, watch the chat. Hope you got some value from this call today, and we will be back again with another next live session. I think that we're going to be adding a second session, so I'll be going live twice a week. Any calls that are not actively like we're getting in, trying to get in positions, you know what I'm saying? Anything that's not like that, we'll just turn them into educational sessions. We'll get better. We'll watch the market, get a perspective on what's taking place. Man, yo, market's just up and down. The fact that he just bought gold kind of hints to sells on the dollar. We do see the dollar trading back into structure now. Let's see if we can find something before I hop off of here. 70 back above. Let's see if we can find something. Now we don't have, So the fact that we traded lower first, there's no imbalances on this candle, on this chart. I know I was just like, I'm not going to be looking for buys on. Yeah, I'm not. I'm a chill. Everything is well. We'll be back again with another session. Stay tuned for the chat. If there are any updates, I'm going to go ahead and also drop an alert right here as well. So 0.7045. And you can see, like, I am very careful with even my conversation to myself when I write my alerts. Potential buy side. This would confirm our sell side, but this would be potential buy side because we need to close above it. So one of these two options will happen. You can see the market's like giving us these signs, but it's not confirming anything. So we'll leave it alone for now. We'll watch how the market trades between these two levels, and we'll make a decision as the opportunity presents itself. But with that being said, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I look forward to catching you on our next live session. Take care until then.